Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast with Christine Luken, the financial dignity coach. In this podcast, we help you recover a positive and peaceful relationship with your personal finances. We do this by bringing together wise money management with emotional intelligence. Join us for this journey where we navigate our relationship with money as Christine Luken draws from years of experience and guest experts to help you get to the root of your money issues.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast. I am your host, Christine Luken. Today's episode is Contentment, Comparison, and Envy. I am rereading one of my favorite books about emotion, Atlas of the Heart. In it, Brene Brown focuses on the language we use to describe our emotional experiences. A few of these emotions are particularly relevant to money. I want to share her findings on comparison, envy, and contentment, along with my observations about how these apply particularly to money. The section in the book that I am focusing on for this podcast episode is called The Places We Go When We Compare. And boy, do we love to compare ourselves with others when it comes to finances and material things. Social media has made it so much easier for us to compare ourselves to other people and to compare ourselves to a much broader range of people. Pre-social media, when I was growing up, as a teenager and even as a young adult, the people who we compared ourselves to were the people in our neighborhoods, the people in our family, the people in our schools. Now, we can compare ourselves to literally the entire world. Comparison itself is not an emotion, but rather it's an activity that we do that leads to all kinds of emotions. We have so many sayings regarding comparison, and you might have heard some of these. Things like, comparison is the thief of joy. Focus on your own journey. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle or ending. The only person you should compare yourself is who you were yesterday. If we know that comparison has the tendency to make us feel bad, why do we do it? I think it is just a natural human tendency to look at what others are doing and accomplishing and measure ourselves against it. We're looking at a social norm. We're saying, how do we measure up? Are we doing the right thing? How do I even know? And I love this quote from the book where Brene Brown talks about comparison. Comparison says, be like everyone else, but better. And isn't that exactly what comparison does? We look at other people and we either want to be where people are or a little bit ahead of them. We feel good about ourselves when we compare with somebody else and it looks like we're on equal footing or we're doing better than that person in a particular area. But if that other person seems to be doing better than us, then we suddenly feel bad about ourselves. Have you ever had this experience of accomplishing something or maybe buying something new and being super excited about your accomplishment or this thing that you bought until you compared yourself with someone else, right? Maybe you were so excited about your new car and then you find out your cousin or your friend also has a new car, but it's a better and more expensive car than yours. Then all of a sudden, this car that you were feeling amazing about 5 minutes ago, all of a sudden doesn't seem like enough. I know I've had that experience. Surely I'm not the only person who has had this experience. So this is the trap of comparison, right? Because we're not focused on ourselves. We're focused on how we measure up compared to somebody else. So I love that quote about comparison. Be like everyone else, but better. Now, here's the second thing I want to talk about, because you might be wondering why in the title, when I said comparison, envy, and contentment, why I didn't use jealousy. So here's the interesting thing I learned from this book. And it was a total shocker when I read the book the first time several years ago. If you want what someone else has, you're actually not jealous. So, this truth bomb surprised me because I rarely used the word envious. And this actually came as a surprise to the author as well as she was researching this book. So, according to Brene Brown, jealousy is when we fear losing a relationship or part of a relationship that we already have. So, you feel jealous when someone is pulling away from you. So, you might feel jealous that your bestie constantly talks about a new fun coworker and makes plans with this new friend without you. You might feel jealous that your spouse now spends much of their free time playing pickleball with friends instead of hanging out around the house with you. Jealousy typically happens when you fear losing someone to another person. So, for the most part, jealousy doesn't have to do with possessions or finances. Rather, it has to do with losing the affection and attention of someone who is already in your life. So I thought that was super interesting because typically when we say we want something that someone else has, we use the word jealous. We don't use the word envious. And when we want something that someone else has, we even use these cutesy sayings about, we don't even want to say jealous because that sounds like we're being petty. We'll use the word jelly, right? We come up with these cute names like, oh, I'm so jelly that you got to go to Italy this summer. Rather than saying, I'm envious that you got to go to Italy this summer and I didn't. So, when we talk about being jealous or being jelly of someone's income, their vacation, their car, their lucrative business deal, we're actually not jealous. We're envious. So, the definition of is envy occurs when we want something that another person has. Why do we have difficulty saying, I'm envious of that person? For some reason, envy feels more devious than jealousy. Why is that? Here's my theory. I think it might be because the Hebrew and the Christian scriptures speak specifically against envy. So, for example, Proverbs 14:30 says, "A heart at peace gives life to the body." but envy rots the bones. I doubt any of us want rotten bones. Also, the 10th commandment warns us not to covet anything that belongs to our neighbor. Covet is a synonym for envy. It means we want what someone else has. So, but here is the important distinction. When we are truly envious, it comes with some hostility. That's why we don't want to say it. Envy, really at the heart, says, I want to take what you have. I should have it and you shouldn't. So there's some sort of judgment going on there. You judge the other person as being unworthy of whatever it is, and you elevate yourself. So it's like, you have this good thing, but you don't deserve it. I deserve this good thing. You don't. That's when we really feel envy. We feel envious when we want something another person has, and we don't want them to have it. We don't want them to have it. And here's the thing. Most of the time, we don't feel envious of people we don't know. Occasionally we do. But most of the time, we feel envious of people that we know, right? Your brother-in-law gets an amazing promotion and his family has the opportunity to move to Florida or California or someplace where it's nice and sunny all the time. And you think your brother-in-law is kind of a jerk. And so you don't think he even deserves this promotion, right? You're like, gosh, he's such a jerk. Like, you're really envious, right? You want that promotion. You want that high paying position. You want to be able to move, all expenses paid, someplace where it's warm and sunny all the time. Envy happens when we can't feel happy for somebody else's success. So when you find yourself using the word jealous, you really need to ask yourself, am I really jealous? Or am I envious? Do I not want this person to have it? Now, here's what's interesting. In my opinion, I think envy is actually a gift. Why is that? We usually feel envy when we have a hidden or suppressed desire for something. Desire occurs when we want something, but not necessarily at someone else's expense. So when we have a healthy desire for something, we can be happy for someone else who has it, and we can also want it for ourselves. But sometimes envy points us to a desire that we've not allowed ourselves to have or fully express. Unfortunately, many of us have been conditioned to suppress our desires and to not want too much. Maybe we've been told, don't be selfish when we expressed desires, especially as children. Maybe you asked for a toy for your birthday or for Christmas. And at 5 or 6 years old, you really didn't have a comprehension of what things cost. So maybe you asked for a gift that your parents really couldn't afford. And so maybe you were shamed for that. Maybe one of your parents said, don't be selfish, we can't afford that. And then you internalized that shame, and you were basically conditioned that I'm not supposed to want things, or I'm not supposed to express that I want things. And some of this is societal conditioning, right? We've been told that we shouldn't be selfish. I see this especially with women who have kids. I believe that society has conditioned many of us, especially parents, to put their desires as secondary and less important, especially women. And I'm not saying all women, but in general, most moms that I know, they put their kids first. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't love your kids and make them a priority, but the problem is if you've been conditioned to put your desires secondary and less important as your partner or your kids, then that can certainly be a problem. It's a problem because you are expressing, I'm sorry, you're not expressing, you're suppressing your natural desires. So let me give you an example of this. Oh, quite a few years back, pre COVID, I was coaching a woman who was going through divorce. She and her soon to be ex husband had, I want to say, 5 kids. And they were getting to the point to where the youngest kid was just about ready to graduate from high school. So the husband had said that he wanted a divorce. She wasn't necessarily a hot mess with money, but she knew that she was a hot mess emotionally. And she was concerned that she would make some emotional money decisions if she didn't have someone to guide her. With all of my clients, part of what we do is create a vision board because in order for me to create a plan to help somebody, I need to know 2 things. I need to know where are we right now? And that's the process of digging through all the numbers and finding out what are you spending, what assets do you have, what debts do you have, all that good stuff. But then the other part of it is what does your preferred financial future look like? I need to have those 2 pieces of information in order to help my clients create a plan to get them from point A to point B. But we have to define those 2 points. And so I gave this to her as homework and I said, I'd like you to create your vision board. I gave her some prompts for some different things to think about. And when she came to her next session, she showed me her vision board and she was telling me all the things on her vision board. And she said, I want to have money so that I can take the kids on vacation at least once a year. And she was telling me about all these different things on her vision board. But what I found very interesting was every single thing on her vision board had something to do with her kids. And so I stopped her and I said, "Hey," I said, "this is great. I'm glad you want these things. But what do you want just for you? What do you want for you and nobody else?" And she started crying. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "No one has ever asked me that before. No one had ever asked her, 'What do you want? Just for you, not for your kids, not for your family, not for your ex husband. What do you want for you?'" She had been a mom so long that she had completely lost herself. She didn't even know what she wanted. So I asked her to take some time And think about it. And honestly, it took her several weeks for her to finally define some things that she wanted just for herself and for nobody else, and to add those to her vision board. So, identifying the things that we desire is important. And sometimes envy can point us to those things. It can show us desires that maybe we have buried. And we may need to ask ourselves some questions. You know, why am I envious of that person? Why do I think it's unfair that they have that and I don't? What is it about their situation that maybe I really have a desire for that I've never verbalized before? Right? Desires are not wrong.
Dare to enter the Wealthy Woman Book Club, where answers exist to forbidden questions, where women of all ages and income secretly gather, where knowledge is shared, where possibilities are explored, where women claim their power. Dare to stay a spell in the Wealthy Woman Book Club. In this place, we lift each other up. In this place, we start dreaming again. In this place, we see financial miracles. In this place, we grow through the glory and the failure. In this place, we step into a new identity. Dare to champion the Wealthy Woman Book Club. We're creating a future where women are financially empowered across the globe. We're creating a future where our daughters stand on equal financial footing with our sons. We're creating a future where we purchase with our principles rather than price tags. We're creating a future where we use the power of money for the benefit of people and the planet. Welcome to the Wealthy Woman Book Club. Dare to come in, woman. Come in. Join us at wealthywomanbookclub.com.
So sometimes comparison can inspire us, and it can spark a healthy desire for something more. So if we experience someone or we witness someone experiencing success, financial or otherwise, it can give us a vision of what's possible for us. Maybe you never considered starting a business, going on a European vacation, becoming an author, or making over $100,000 a year. But then you witnessed your friend, your coworker, or a family member do that. And you think, I want that too. So, in my experience, the more connected I am with my desires and my vision for my life, the less I compare myself with others. And when I do, I am more mindful. Like when I see someone that has something and I feel that spark of envy or maybe that spark of desire, I can be curious about that and say, why are these feelings coming up? What is it about this person or their situation that is igniting these feelings in me? Right? Am I envious because this person is so confident about their abilities and their business and the way that they're talking about it online? And that's something that I want to be able to do too, rather than having it be something negative. Healthy desire can pull us forward into a more expansive future. So let's talk about contentment. Contentment is a state of happiness, satisfaction. It's a feeling of completeness, appreciation, and enoughness. Here's what I find interesting. as I'm looking at some of these different descriptors of contentment. So, contentment and satisfaction are very close relatives of each other. And the definition of satisfaction is the fulfillment of one's desires and the pleasure derived from this. So, contentment is the emotion we feel when we enjoy what is. I'm going to read that again. Contentment is the emotion we feel when we enjoy what is. Gratitude and contentment are also closely related. Gratitude is a deep sense of appreciation for what we already have. And here is the lie that I think we have been told: you can only feel one thing at a time. If we feel contentment, it must mean that we have no desire for something else. Or if we desire the next level in our business, or if we desire a new car, we can't be content or satisfied or appreciate the car we already have. That's not true. We can feel two things at the same time. We have a tendency to see things very black and white, very dualistic, and many times there's a lot more shades of gray when it comes to our feelings. There's a lot more nuance. We think we can't feel content if we still desire something. And that's not true. We can have unmet desires and still enjoy our present circumstances. Because here's the thing: as humans, we are always growing, we are always evolving, we are always changing. And that's a good thing. All living things grow. And so I think it is a good thing for us to have things to look forward to, things to grow into, both personally, professionally, and in our finances. And we can also be grateful for everything that we have right now. The inside cover of my planner has a quote that I love. It says, "Grateful for where I'm at, excited about where I'm going." And that is the sweet spot. Being content and grateful for what is, while feeling positive anticipation for the desires that are coming. Now, constant comparison with others makes it challenging to feel content. So, we want to keep that comparison in check. If you feel like there are certain triggers that cause you to compare to the point of making yourself miserable, you may need to stage an intervention for yourself. Maybe there are certain people that you follow online. Maybe there's certain friends or family members that you see on social media that trigger this comparison for you on a constant basis. Well, maybe you need to unfollow them. Maybe you need to hide them. Maybe you need to snooze them. You may not need to unfriend them completely or ban them from your social media, but sometimes you just need to spend less time on that and cultivate more gratitude for what you have. You can increase your contentment by purposely finding things in your life to appreciate and to be grateful for, even as you pursue your desires. One of the best things that I have implemented in my own life is a gratitude practice, and I do it every single day. I instituted this gratitude practice during one of the worst years of my life and business, which was 2019. I had 5 people that died that year that I was close to, and 2 of them by suicide. Personally, it was a very devastating year for me. And because of the grief and the sadness, my business did not do well. As you can imagine, it's really hard to show up and be positive and call in high vibe clients when you are dealing with that level of compounded grief. But in the middle of that year, I decided that even though I was grieving, even though I was having a hard time, because 4 of those people died between February and April, 4 out of the 5. So within 60 days, that's a lot of compounded sadness in a very short period of time. So around June, I instituted a gratitude practice and I wrote down every single day 3 things that I was grateful for. So I would think about what's right in front of me that I can be grateful for, or what's something that happened yesterday, or a person that I encountered yesterday that said something positive to me, a person that I could be grateful for, or just grateful for the fact that I have running water and I can take a hot shower whenever I want to. We can always find reasons to be grateful. And I have kept that up ever since. So I've been doing that for 5.5 years now. Every single morning, I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I really feel the gratitude. It's not just writing it down. I feel into it. I close my eyes. I think about that thing or that person or that experience. And I feel that gratitude in my body. And just by doing that, first of all, within the first year of doing that, my mood and my life did a complete 180. And yes, I still have moments of comparison, but I'm able to stop myself and say, I am on my own path, and this person is on a different path. And if I feel that envious spark, I can ask myself, what is it about that person or about that situation or whatever it is that they have that might be a desire in me? Is there really a desire in me for that? And if so, maybe I need to add that to my vision board. So that's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about comparison. I want you to think about contentment and envy, especially when it comes to money and finances. And increase your contentment by practicing gratitude, even as you pursue your desires. One of my mentors has an amazing saying, Melanie Ann Layer. She says, have 1 foot in gratitude and 1 foot in desire. So if you think about taking a walk, as you're walking, 1 foot is always on the ground. As you're transitioning and that back foot is coming up, your front foot is coming down and being planted firmly in the present as the other foot is moving forward into the future. So if you can think about this as you're walking through life, you have 1 foot firmly planted in the present with gratitude, and the other foot is moving forward into the future, stepping into those desires. And as you accomplish and attain those desires, then you feel grateful and content. Well, my friend, this is where I leave you for today. If you enjoyed this conversation, please leave us a review. This helps others to find the Money is Emotional podcast. And if you're not a subscriber yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified as soon as a new episode drops. If you are interested in working with me one-on-one to sort out both your money and your emotions, please go to christineluken.com/apply and see if we are a good fit to work together. Until next time, this is Christine Luken, reminding you that you're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you, including me. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Money is Emotional podcast. To get in touch, visit our website at www.christineluken.com or drop us a line at hello@christineluken.com. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Christine Luken. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your advisor, tax professional, or other qualified financial professional with any questions you may have regarding your personal finances.